Right. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to DMI Live. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are going to talk about editing 3D models. Here with us today, joining us is Doug Stewart.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Doug, how you doing today?
Good, good.
Awesome. Doug is a professor at DMI, and that's Digital Media Institute. That's here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Doug has many years under his belt doing industry work and all types of fantastic and awesome things. Like if you look at his background right now, this is one of the sets that he was working on for a while. It's pretty cool. So Doug, tell us a little, just a little bit about yourself, dude.
Yeah, so I've kind of worked in the visual effects industry for about 20 years. Um, I just transitioned into teaching, and and it's not totally true. I taught a little bit part time as an adjunct instructor at a local university back in Utah. That was where I used to live before I came out here, and so I've really enjoyed kind of this fun, kind of exciting visual effects career, and I feel like this is part of my career right now, and it's awesome. I love taking kind of the experience I've had over the years and talking to students about it, and just kind of just flooding them with all this random stuff that I grade them on.
It's a very
Yeah,
good way
it's
to put it.
awesome.
I like that.
But yeah, I mean, I've worked on feature films. I've worked in larger and smaller studios from budgets ranging, small budgets, visual effects budgets of $10,000 and then visual effects budgets that were in the multi-million-dollar range. And so um, a good slice of the industry where I could really try to cater to the needs of the different clients that had different budgets. It was a lot of fun to balance that out over the different projects I've had. Yeah. In the background here, this is one of the projects I worked on. This was some of the filming that we did. And we created this big, huge, I'll squeeze out of the way.
Yeah, I can see it.
We
That's
built
pretty
about
cool.
a 60-foot boat, and then we put it on this rotating gimbal. Um, so just imagine that 60-foot boat, rotating gimbal, lots of water, water tanks, water cannons, 200-foot green screen, a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. It looks awesome too. Um, is that a practical? That's a practical effect in the background. Tell us about the difference between a 3D model and that same type of environment. Would this shot be the same? Would it feel the same?
Uh, and that's always a debate. When you go into something, you're trying to decide, do you want to create it in 3D or in fully in visual effects? Do you want to shoot practical elements like practical water, like in the background here? Do you want CG water, practical water? And it really depends. In my opinion, it depends on what your resources are. If you have, if you look at some of the Avenger movies that everybody loves, you will see that they have budgets to do so much, and a lot of times they'll make decisions because they just have the money. They have a lot of money,
Yes.
and so they have a lot of money to hire a full 3D team, a full simulation team to do simulated water on a bunch of shots. They'll do destruction of buildings and cities and whatever, and they're paying specific teams to create those types of shots, and they'll literally shop out, and they'll go out to different studios that focus. They'll say, hey, it's kind of like an interview, and you'll interview different visual effects houses and have them maybe do some test shots, and then at the end of the day you pick the one that you want to work with.
Oh,
Now that's if you have a lot of money. You have a smaller
yeah.
budget, you might not, even if you have a multi-million-dollar budget, you might not have $100 million budget. And so then you're going to be a little more careful about how you approach something, and you may need to shoot more practical elements because you're going to be able to get those in the camera, and they'll look really good.
Yes.
Um, And so you might limit how much you use in 3D. So I would say practical is definitely a way to go if you want to minimize some cost. Now this shoot behind me wasn't the cheapest shoot in the world, but compared to like doing full CG sims and if you're on a timeline, and if you have a short timeline, you're not going to be able to create all that stuff really quickly. And so even if you have the best studio working with you, so those are some of the decisions that you have to take into account. This was a pretty quick timeline. We knew we weren't going to be able to pay like a huge team to do all the water sims. We knew we weren't going to have a lot of time to do the shots, and so we decided to shoot a lot of it practically.
Cool. That's a really, really cool shot. Say that again. I can't help but say that. That is really awesome. So, do you have like any examples of like some 3D models that your class has been working on?
Oh yeah, let me. Yeah, I do want to show some of that. So right now, like I was saying, I'm teaching, and I love it. I think it's just awesome. I love my students.
I can tell you're really excited about doing that. That's
yeah,
great.
I was talking
that enthusiasm.
Yeah, I was talking to you earlier, and I think about this. Some people might say, "Oh, you're teaching now, so it's a lot different." And in all reality, when I think about teaching, I actually just think of it as the next step of my career, because I feel like I'm learning so much from working with the most amazing students right now. And they're, yeah. Let me share my screen, and I'll just kind of step through a few of these, and then you let me know when if we need to transition to anything else, or kind of give me a heads up, and I'll jump around a little bit differently. But
Okay.
let me
Just go with what you feel.
Oh, okay.
Just keep it like PG.
Okay, I'll try to keep it PG.
All right.
The visual effects industry is not typically PG, but okay, so can you see my screen here? Okay, does that look?
I can see your screen. It looks pretty good. I see it.
I will reformat this to maybe make it look like the best format it can be. Okay,
Oh.
so okay, let me show you with some different things here that the students have worked on, and these students have only been doing 3D for about 3 months now, and about 3.5 months, and so we start out on projects that where we do like a simple mug, right? That's kind of where we start. But this artist, because this artist had some compositing experience from our previous term, he went ahead and actually put in some of this kind of practical mist coming up off of the inside of the mug there. And so he took the time to actually composite that in. And that's kind of like the practical effects that we're talking about. We're adding some practical effects to this mug. And this artist went ahead and took the time to do that. So we'll start out with simple things like this. And then we will progressively just jump into more and more complex types of things. So, but even when you do simple objects, you can start to make them look really good. And so this might have some notes on here, but that's fine if you see some of that. But yeah, so you can see this is just kind of we call this a turntable.
That's right.
And I'm going to hide that view for a second.
I like that.
And so this is a turntable that goes all the way around the object. And one of our assignments is kind of doing like a catapult, trebuchet, ballista, something like that, and detailing it out.
That's really cool. So is the object itself turning, or is there a camera on that object and it's going around it?
So it's a camera. So let me show you another one, and then I can talk about it. Let's pick up this one here, for example. Okay, so this one, this is a camera, and just like the turntable, this one's not a uniform camera move. This one's actually got some dynamic aspects to the camera move, and even working with this artist, his name's Eric, by the way. He's phenomenal. Honestly, our students in this class are just phenomenal, and so Eric, he spent a lot of time trying to perfect this camera move, just tweaking things and really wanting to get it to focus on the things he wanted to focus on. This was an assignment where we actually went in drew out a concept, drew out different angles of something, and then built it in 3D. And so all the students did that. And this artist decided to display his artwork on the sides of it, which I think it was a very good choice.
That is a good choice.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
like
going to
that.
show very well that that not only can this artist do something in 3D and make it look really nice, but also just to sketch it out. To sketch it out, even his sketches look really good. And so, yeah, this is one of the artists that that sometimes he spends a little too much time on it in some ways. He
Yeah.
loses
Oh,
sleep. He loses a lot of sleep, and but his choice,
we
sometimes I
almost suffer for our art, so
yeah.
that's par for the course.
But we'll move along to different things like this. Yeah, we'll animate the camera move. Sometimes we don't animate it and just do something really uniform.
Tell me about the textures that was on that.
Oh, and this one right here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. This one, it was modeled in Maya, so the software called Maya by Autodesk, and it has a built-in renderer called Arnold. Now, Arnold hasn't always been in Maya. Used to have a render engine called Mental Ray, and so when you're working in 3D, you have to remember that you have a 3D package and then you have a rendering engine, and you can use almost any 3D package, and most of the rendering engines are going to have a plugin or something that works with that 3D package. So if you're using 3D Studio Max, or you're using Maya, or using Blender, that's a modeling 3D package that can also do animation and whatever. You have a 3D package, but then on top of that, you might have V-Ray that as a rendering engine, or Arnold as a rendering engine, or RenderMan as a rendering engine. And so what that means is the rendering engine is what computes all the light data and the light information and how it reflects and bounces off of the objects that you have in your scene. And you can adjust all those properties of how reflective something is. If it's not reflective at all, if it's supposed to look metallic, or if it's supposed to just look like plastic, or rubber, you can make all those settings. And so you actually spend time doing that, adjusting what we call shaders, which work with these render engines. And you adjust your shaders, and then you tell the computer to render it, and then it just processes. Yeah.
Cool. So how long did this particular render take?
This one, if I'm not mistaken, it took about, I think it was about eight hours on probably about 10 to 12 machines.
8 hours.
So it rendered on 10 to 12 machines, and it would send like one frame at a time, and then it probably took about 8 hours.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice work. I hope your students aren't embarrassed that we're showcasing their stuff right now, but it should not be. It's very talented.
I hope they're not too embarrassed, and but like I said, I'll keep going, and
keep going.
There's something else that he did, and I'll move on to a different artist. But one of the assignments was to do a bike, to replicate a bike. So visual effects in 3D, we're all about references. We're all about finding different references. There may even be, so here's a reference of this bike right here. This was a photo reference that the artist found. And this is the model that he wanted to build. And so a lot of times I will try to get artists to find things that they want to build. And so the assignment might be a bike, but I want them to choose one that they feel comfortable, that might challenge them to build something. And they're going to be more passionate about that than if I say, here's a bike and you all model the same thing.
Oh, this bike, that's right.
Yeah. This
one could have some kind of meaning to the artist.
Exactly. Maybe there was something about this bike that from his childhood or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so this is kind of what we're seeing here.
It's a good job. Textures are nice.
Yeah.
Nice modeling too. It's clean.
Lighting looks pretty good. Yep. I'm a big fan of the, just like in cinematography, the backlighting. When you start looking at stuff like this, it looks really, really nice when you get the highlights hitting the edges.
I know it. Yeah. It looks really cool. How long was this Was this rendered also in Arnold?
It was. This was rendered in Arnold as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
Let me
job.
switch over to a different artist here, and so I will grab. So this here's a different artist here. This artist's name is Hayden, and I call him an artist. I call my students artists because that's what they
All
are.
right. That's right.
Yeah. So this is one of the earlier things that we did, but this was something they had creative freedom on, and so it was a design that they could come up with on their own. And I just thought it was a really interesting design.
It is
Just
very interesting.
looking design, good color choices. It's still very basic. It's very early on in the 3D process, and so the shapes are going to be a little bit more simplified, but the design itself it really stood out to me.
And plus, there's a camera in there too. You
Yeah,
know, I don't know how long in the program was this particular assignment.
this was like the third assignment, second or third assignment after the mug. So the mug,
Okay.
it was the mug was the first one, and then we had this might have even been the second one,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
second or third, assignment. And and again, you just as you do more modeling, you start looking at textures and you do texture studies, and you try to make sure things look like they would be where they are.
That's right.
Um,
Form has to follow the function. That looks really good.
yeah,
You know, because not everything is going to be like a monster or something that you model. You know, you have
exactly.
part surface too.
This is a work in progress. This is something that we're working on right
There you
now.
go.
We were just, working on right now, and just again some unique stuff that we were trying to do design wise, trying to get away from the norm, you could say.
That is, just thinking outside of the box. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was what program was that?
So this is all still. Oh, that last one.
Yeah, the last one. The last bit.
Let me jump back to that last one.
Yeah. Because it
So
looks like there's a clay texture
there's
on top
yeah,
of
it's
it.
clay-like, and what that means is more when we say clay-like, we've probably sculpted it, and just like you would sculpt in real life with clay or with wax, whatever is your medium, we're sculpting in 3D. And we actually go in there and sculpt a bunch of details. Now, this probably started in Maya, which I think I know it started in Maya. And so the basic shapes were created in Maya, and then we move it over to a sculpting package. And that's when you start adding in things around it. Like you might add in this detail here, and then the kind of the little details in these areas here.
That's right.
This kind of welded detail that would be added in a sculpting package, and then most of this, would also be done in a sculpting package, including the details on the wings and things like that. But the general shapes were created in Maya in hard surface modeling, and then it's brought in to do this kind of sculpting detail. It's a very common practice to do that.
That's right. And that's creating what your normal maps, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah, exactly. That's creating our normal maps, and then you can take this really high detailed normal map and then put it onto a low poly object that looks almost the same. It just doesn't have all those details. And then through the normal maps and the texturing, we can actually make it look like it was this much detail.
That's right.
So I'll have to go through that process
Yeah.
sometime. One of these days. Yeah, it's
Let's
a
continue
process.
let's
Yeah.
showcase stuff.
So let me clear that. Go to something else here. Oh, I went too far back. Let me switch back over here. So what I'm showing you through here, this is a shot tracking tool that we have, and in this shot tracking tool, we can I can literally see all the assignments. It's actually something that's used in the industry. It's not necessarily a education tool, but
Yeah.
it works perfectly for what we're doing in classes, because the reason it does is we've set up this program. This program is a 1-year intensive program, and that's what really drew me here, was that I I have the opportunity right now to spend all this time with these students, and it's over a course of 1 year, and they're with me every day from 9 to 3 every single day, and this type of program and these types of students. I mean, this is the reason why I decided to come over here and teach. And
that's really cool.
And so bringing in tools like this is something that I see on resumes all the time. I see, or on job applications and job postings, they'll say something. Do you have shotgun experience? And shotgun's this shot tracking tool, and they'll say that in a lot of different things, a lot of different job postings. So it's something that they're going to have experience in as they go into the job force, and they can say, "Hey, I used shotgun, when I was learning all this stuff."
That's right.
So let me see. I'm
Prepare for it. I like that.
Let me swing back over and grab this one here. So this is again another artist that I'll highlight some things on here. Let's see. Let's take a look at this catapult design. Was quite unique. Let me see if I can find. Oh, that's not the newest one.
So that was like a scene setup, right? Like
so. This
like
is yeah. So this is an animation test.
Yes.
And the reason it looks like it's really low quality video is because we don't care if it looks really nice right now. When we're critiquing animation, we don't care if the textures are perfect. We don't care if the render looks like the most amazing photographic looking render. What we care about is the movement and
That's
what
right.
happens with the movement. And so as we critique these things, how does this structure move when this catapult gets released, and as it hits a bar over here, there's a bar over here that this hits like this, right? And it kind of smacks into it, right?
That's
and
right.
And then what happens to the structure? So the structure does a shift, forward and then back a little bit. Maybe the back tires come up a little bit, and this is what we start to do when we critique animation. It can be low quality references, but we're making comments on this, and then I as a reviewer, I would review it and give some notes, and say, okay, maybe we need to have a little bit more shifter there, here or there.
That's right.
Things like that. But the original catapult by this artist is right here, and this artist did these really cool details of snakes coming off the sides of the catapult.
Everything's so Egyptian.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is awesome. That's really good work like that.
Yeah.
Nice textures.
We do a Lego assignment probably because I love Legos. More because I love Legos than probably anything else. But I love watching.
You can't beat those things. I mean,
yeah, right.
It's like endless imagination or possibilities that you can do with those things.
Exactly. And this artist, her name's Emily. She was able to animate the Lego coming together and all the different pieces, and that shows really nicely.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Good job. So when they're at that point in their student career, how advanced are they as far as like how many weeks are they into that program?
Right now,
like as far as like when they did the Lego character.
Lego was pretty early on. It was probably the assignment, the fourth assignment. So this would have been the assignment after that kind of temple looking structure that I showed you earlier.
Oh, yeah.
This would have been the next assignment after that.
So that's cool because they're still modeling and doing video compositions as well.
Yes, and that's important to me. I hate to have people work on something and then not be able to show it off really well, right?
Right.
And if they didn't take the time to go in and put textures on there, and if they didn't take the time to do a turntable and light it, then it's not going to show off very well when they put it on their demo reels. And what I mean by demo reels is it's a collection of an artist's work that they put together as one video piece, and it just represents their work as an artist. And when they're showing that to potential employers or their friends and family, or whoever, they want it to look good. And so I push them to start right away, to light things, to render it, and to try to make it look as good as possible. And a lot of the artists, that's what they do. From early on, they start lighting, they render it, they know what it means to render it, how long it might take to render it. And then we have things that we do that we might not have finished, like something like this. The idea was we wanted to sculpt something. And so Emily sculpted this, and it's a very unique, cool looking character.
It is.
Here's the full body. And so very, very nice looking sculpt. But we have to put any texture.
A lot of detail in those feet.
Exactly. There's tons of detail, like all this skin detail. And
right.
Yeah.
So are those just textures that they put on themselves and like little normal maps that they bake onto the character, or is that all sculpted in?
So right now at this point, this is all sculpted. Yeah, this is all sculpted. So this geometry is really heavy. It's because all those little details, that's all sculpted geometry.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But the next step would be to take this, put textures on it, create a version that's not so high poly. That's like a low poly version that you can use. Because in games, when you create something like this, if it's for games or even if it's for film, you don't want something that has that much detail in the geometry. You want it in the normal maps that you map on to something that's smaller resolution. And so that's what I mean by low poly, high poly. It's the amount of resolution on that object. So if you think of a TV, you have right now we have, your 2K TVs and 4K TVs and HD TVs, and then you have the old TVs that were, 720 by 480 TV.
Yeah.
And so, that's resolution. The quality gets so much nicer, and but the nicer the quality, the harder it is, to work with sometimes.
That's right. It's very dense of a model.
Yeah. But some really fun stuff. I love looking at these different artists put things together and how creative they can get. Yeah.
It's very awesome. I love what they've been doing. I love the fact that they've been thinking outside the box, where they'll take what you've given them and then just expand on top of that. So that's really good.
Exactly.
They get a kudos.
Exactly. They'll expand on top of it. We do, again, very unique stuff that these artists are doing. This is Connor. He put this together recently. And
so are they making these textures themselves? Or these textures inside of some of the programs?
So these textures are they're applying themselves. Like on this one, for example, this is an artist. His name's Ed, and he found the textures, these wood textures, and applied them to the platform here that this creation is put on. And this is kind of like this was part of this catapult assignment, and you have the remote and the toy catapult. And so I'm looking forward to seeing this one get animated.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's going to be really, really interesting to see how he's going to animate that.
Yeah.
Going to have a multitude of them running around throwing catapults at things, or cheese squares. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, but I think this one's animated here. If it is, I think it's the turntable. But this one actually might be animated somewhere. I'll see if it's there.
That's pretty cool too. That's a unique look.
Yeah, it's a unique look for sure. So here's like an animation test on that one. Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The slow rise of the anticipation of it going up. Like
exactly.
what's going to happen?
Exactly. And so we're just now kind of getting into animation, and so they're kind of beginning steps of talking about all those principles like you just said, anticipation. But it's been a lot of fun watching them grow, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So,
it looks fun. It really does. It's fun, exciting, and challenging. You know.
exactly, exactly.
Cool.
Um, Here's another someone else's bike.
I like that.
Um, I liked their. So the cool thing about this one, this Lego presentation, the artwork, if I'm not mistaken, the artwork behind it was done by the artist
Oh, that's
as
really
well.
cool.
So the artist not only can do the 3D work, but is doing these really detailed drawings in the background. And
Oh,
so yeah, her name's Nicole.
good job.
Yeah,
That's old school Batman too. Oh, Adam West. Yeah, that is
yeah,
really awesome. I like the fact that they are able to incorporate both 2D and 3D into like one image and composite it together. That's really nice.
exactly.
That's
Um,
cool.
but uh, but yeah, throughout my career, I've been a visual effects supervisor for it was probably for the last 12 years and 12-ish years, 14 years, something like that. And what I've noticed is, I might be the guy that goes out on set and does all this stuff to make sure that we get the elements that we need. But at the end of the day, I'm coming back to a studio and I'm working with a team of artists, and and the artists are the ones that put all this together. I might try to guide them a little bit, but at the end of the day, their creativity and their passion, their hours that they put into it, that's what really makes this stuff. And these students right now, that's what they're doing. They're doing exactly what you would do if you were working on an Avengers film, for example. The team of artists are the ones that are putting it together and making it. Um,
All right.
and so I'm so proud of them. I see all this stuff, and I literally just, I'm so happy to see it come together where it's at. And yeah, it's awesome.
That's good. Good job, man. I really appreciate you being here and helping us out, and being on our show today. That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing all of what you do, and thank you for sharing your students' work too.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, maybe sometime if you want to come see the school and see our setup. I think we'll be back in classes hopefully fairly soon, sometime this month maybe.
Hope to.
And yeah, swing by, and if you have any questions for me, send out my email contact information. Um, I'm more than happy to answer any questions about the program and my background, or if you had questions about how the students are doing, please let me know, and maybe I can even pass you off to some students so they can tell you how things are going for them. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for reaching out and stuff, man. We appreciate it. And
Okay.
thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of DMI Live. We'll see you guys Friday. Bye bye.